Hey everyone, buckle up, because you guys sent in some seriously creepy stuff for this deep dive. We're talking fear of the unknown, based on that article you shared. Fear of the unknown, an in-depth analysis. And get this, we're going to see how it shows up everywhere. Like, I'm talking art, literature, psychology. We're going full on creepy, A&D, insightful all at once.
You know, it's funny. It's not like we're afraid of a specific thing, right? Like spiders or heights. This is about the fear of the absence of something, like information or certainty control, even.
Yeah, okay, I need like a visual for this. The article mentions this painting as an example. There's just a dog, and it's staring into this like dark, half-open doorway.
Mm.
No monsters, no like obvious threat, just darkness.
And that's what makes it so effective, right? It's like what we call implied horror. It's like the scariest things. They're not shown directly, but they're hinted at, and then your imagination takes over. It fills in the blanks. And honestly, that's way more frightening than anything a painter could actually put on canvas.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is like, it really gets under my skin.
Yeah.
It's like when you hear a noise late at night. Is it just the wind? Or is it something else out there? I bet like everyone listening has felt that kind of primal fear.
Oh, absolutely. It's a survival instinct. You know, that jolt of adrenaline that makes you cautious when you don't know what you're dealing with. But as we both know, sometimes that instinct can lead us down some pretty dark paths.
Okay, speaking of dark paths, we have to talk about the king of creepy unknowns, H.P. Lovecraft. The article quotes him saying, "The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown."
I mean, Lovecraft was a master at tapping into that deep-seated dread, right? He understood that real horror often comes from the vastness and indifference of the cosmos. The idea that, like, humanity is just this tiny speck in a universe full of things that we can't even begin to comprehend.
And it's not just cosmic horror either.
Right?
Like, you know that Tom Waits song, What's He Building in there? That is like pure fear of the unknown,
Yeah.
right there in suburbia. And the song never tells you what the neighbor is actually up to. And that's what makes it so unnerving.
Oh, exactly. Our brains crave patterns and explanations, right? We want to know why things happen, but the unknown resists that need for resolution. So it keeps us guessing. It keeps us speculating and maybe even dreading what we might find if we ever get those answers.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't there a positive side to this fear too? I mean, a healthy dose of caution can be good.
Right.
Like not running into a burning building because you have no idea what's waiting inside.
Of course. I mean, fear of the unknown can absolutely protect us. It makes us assess risks, think twice before jumping into dangerous situations. But what happens when that fear becomes like obsessive? When the need for control overrides everything else?
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
The article talks about the novel House of Leaves.
Mhm.
It's about this house that's basically a constantly shifting labyrinth.
Yeah, and one of the characters, Holloway Roberts, he becomes completely fixated on like understanding the house, on mapping it and conquering its mysteries. But the more he tries to impose order on this inherently chaotic space, the further he descends into madness.
So it's like trying to force understanding onto something that just defies all logic can backfire, almost like the harder you squeeze, the more it slips away.
Exactly. And this isn't just like a literary concept either. Think about real world examples. Conspiracy theories, obsessive behaviors, even violence can stem from this desperate need to eliminate the unknown, to like force the world to fit into a neat little box.
Which brings up a point that kind of blew my mind. Like, knowledge doesn't eliminate the unknown, it actually expands it.
Yeah.
Every answer just leads to more questions.
It's like exploring a vast forest. The deeper you venture, the more you realize how much more there is to discover. The unknown is not a finite space waiting to be conquered. It's a constantly evolving horizon.
Okay, now you're making me think about the flip side. What about when ignorance is bliss? You know, is there ever a time when not knowing is actually better? The article mentions this novel Bird Box, where seeing this mysterious entity just drives people insane. So the only way to survive is to like blindfold themselves. What do you think about that premise?
It's a chilling thought experiment, isn't it? Bird Box forces us to ask, is knowledge always a good thing? Are there some truths that might be too much for us to handle?
It really makes you think, like, is there stuff we're better off not knowing? But then again, we know ignorance can be dangerous too. Like, look at how easily misinformation spreads when people don't have the facts.
Yeah, you're right. It's a tough one. Without knowledge, we're vulnerable to manipulation, to unfounded beliefs, all sorts of harmful ideologies. So it's like this constant balancing act, right? How do we satisfy our curiosity without opening Pandora's box?
Okay, so how do we even navigate that? I mean, it feels like we're surrounded by the unknown, both out there in the world and like inside ourselves too.
You know, you've hit on something crucial there. The article argues that what we fear in the unknown often reflects our own anxieties and insecurities.
So it's not just about what's actually out there lurking in the darkness. It's about what we project onto it, our own baggage.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Darkness itself is neutral. We're the ones who give it meaning, who like populate it with our fears and anxieties. So I'm curious, what scares you most about the unknown? What does that say about you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I think for me, it's the fear of the unforeseen. The idea that something could happen completely out of the blue and just turn my whole world upside down.
I think that's very relatable. It speaks to a desire for stability, for a sense of order in a world that can often feel chaotic.
Yeah.
But here's something to consider. What if accepting that lack of control, that inherent unpredictability, could actually be liberating?
Whoa, okay, now you're going to have to unpack that one for me.
Yeah.
How can losing control be a good thing?
It's not about being passive. It's about recognizing that we can't micromanage every aspect of our lives. Sometimes the healthiest thing we can do is surrender to the flow, embrace the mystery and uncertainty.
So instead of fighting the unknown, we kind of learn to dance with it.
Exactly. Think of it like sailing. You can't control the wind or the waves, but you can adjust your sails and navigate the currents to reach your destination.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's not about giving up.
Yeah.
It's about adapting, finding a way to move forward, even when we don't have all the answers.
Right. And who knows, maybe that's where the real magic is, in that space between what we know and what we don't. Maybe that's where we discover our true potential, our capacity for resilience and growth.
All right, so we've covered a lot here.
Hmm.
The fear of the unknown, the dangers of both ignorance, A&D, reckless curiosity, the fact that our fears often say more about us than about the world itself. Where does this leave us? What's the takeaway for our listeners? You know, the ones who might be wrestling with their own fears of the unknown?
Well, I think the article's conclusion offers a really thought-provoking perspective. It suggests that sometimes the unknown is actually a form of protection, that maybe there are truths out there that we're just not ready to face, either individually or as a society.
So it's like a shield, a buffer zone between us and the harsh realities of the universe.
In a way, yes. It allows us to operate within a certain comfort zone, to maintain a sense of order and stability. But as we've discussed, that comfort can also be a trap. It can prevent us from asking difficult questions, from challenging our assumptions, from truly growing and evolving.
So we're back to that balancing act again, the need for security versus the urge to explore, to push beyond the boundaries of what we know.
It's the human condition, isn't it? This constant tension between the known and the unknown. And I don't think there's like a simple answer, a one-size-fits-all solution. But maybe it's not about finding the answer, but about learning to ask better questions.
I like that. What if confronting our fear of the unknown isn't so much about finding answers as it is about refining our questions, of getting more comfortable with not knowing?
Exactly, because in the end, isn't that what makes life so interesting? That constant sense of discovery, of pushing the boundaries of our understanding.
It's like we're all explorers in our own way, venturing into the uncharted territories of our lives.
And with every step we take, the unknown both recedes and expands, revealing new vistas of possibility and uncertainty.
So it's not about conquering the unknown, but about learning to coexist with it.
Precisely. It's about finding a sense of peace and even excitement in the face of the unpredictable.
That's a pretty radical shift in perspective, isn't it? Instead of fearing the unknown, we can choose to embrace it as a source of wonder and growth.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the unknown is an integral part of the human experience, and that without it, life would be far less interesting and meaningful.
So to our listeners out there who might be grappling with their own fears of the unknown, what advice would you give them?
I'd say first and foremost, acknowledge your fears. Don't try to suppress them or pretend they don't exist. Fear is a natural human emotion, and it's there for a reason.
It's like that saying, what you resist persists.
Exactly. Once you've acknowledged your fears, try to understand where they're coming from. What are the specific things that trigger them? What are the underlying beliefs or assumptions that fuel those fears?
So it's about getting curious about our own fear, rather than running away from it.
Precisely. And as you start to understand your fears better, you can start to challenge them. Ask yourself if those fears are based on reality or on unfounded assumptions.
It's like holding those fears up to the light, seeing if they can stand up to scrutiny.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to face your fears alone. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, or professionals for support. Talking about your fears can often help to lessen their power.
Like sharing the burden, lightening the load.
And finally, remember that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you're building your resilience and expanding your capacity to embrace the unknown.
So it's a journey of self-discovery, of learning to navigate the unknown both within and around us.
And who knows what incredible discoveries await us on the other side.
So we started with this painting, right? A dog staring into darkness. And now it feels like we're the ones staring into the unknown.
Maybe that was the whole point. Maybe it's not about finding all the answers. It's about learning to live with the questions, to be okay with the mystery.
But this isn't just some like heady philosophical thing, right? This actually impacts how we live.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Every decision we make, every risk, every relationship, it all involves stepping into the unknown to some extent.
So like this fear, it's something we're dealing with every single day, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. It's in those big life choices like switching careers, moving, or even just the little things like trying a new food or talking to someone you don't know.
Okay, that's actually making me a little anxious just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But seriously, how do we handle that uncertainty?
Hmm.
Any tips for our listeners who are feeling overwhelmed by all of this?
Well, first remember, you're not alone. Every single person has dealt with this. It's a universal human experience.
That's kind of comforting, actually. Like we're all just fumbling around in the dark together.
Exactly. And remember what we said before, acknowledging the fear. That's the first step. Don't try to bury it or pretend it's not there. Lean in. Get curious.
So instead of running from the monster, we turn on the light and take a good look.
Exactly. Once you've named the fear, you can start to understand it. What makes it tick? What are the thoughts and beliefs behind it?
Like we're detectives, investigating our own minds.
I love that. And as you learn more, you can start to challenge those thoughts. Are they based on facts or just your anxieties?
Separating fact from fiction reality from our own inner drama.
Exactly. And you don't have to do it alone. Talk to people you trust, friends, family therapists. Sharing your fears can make them less scary.
It's like sharing the burden,
Yeah.
lightening the load.
And finally, remember that real courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting even when you are.
So taking that step into the unknown, even when we're terrified.
Exactly. And every time you do that, you get stronger. You expand your comfort zone. You become a little bit more fearless.
That's a powerful message. It's like the unknown isn't something to be afraid of. It's a chance to grow, to discover ourselves, to have an adventure.
It's about embracing the mystery, trusting the process, and knowing that even without all the answers, we have the strength to keep going.
This deep dive has really been something else. We went from a creepy painting to the deepest parts of ourselves and explored this fear from all these different angles.
And it's been great exploring it with you.
Absolutely. To everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has inspired you to embrace the unknown, to face your fears with curiosity and courage. And remember, the most amazing discoveries, they're usually waiting right outside our comfort zones. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.